Hey y'all, I'm Abbie Garcia, and I'm your host for Thoughts on That, a podcast where we pretty much dissect everything and anything under the sun. And so today I'd like to talk about productivity, and I have a lot to say about that, so go ahead and buckle in and grab your drink. Yeah, productivity. First off, why is our society so obsessed with it? Like, if you look at social media, the marketing, the self-help books, the TikToks, it's all geared towards productivity. Like 9 productive hacks you can implement into your day, or small things to make your day a little more efficient. And I do appreciate the intent behind it, but it's everywhere. And there's actually a lot of guilt if you aren't productive, especially during COVID, during quarantine. Like, a lot of influencers are saying, oh, if you don't write a book right now, if you don't learn a new language or learn a new skill, then what are you doing? There's a lot of shame that goes into not being productive, and it's really toxic because we're going through a hard time as it is. And I'm just speaking from a Western perspective, but it seems like the obsession with productivity as well is apparent through all parts of the world, like in East Asia specifically, in Japan and in Korea. In my experience, they prize people staying late at work because it's a show of character and how hard a person works. Like, if you're sleeping at work, it shows how tired you are because you've been working all night. And even in my own experience in Korea, the times I've stayed late after work while everyone else is leaving, I've been applauded and praised for staying after work. So, to start off, I want to share my own experience with productivity and how it's kind of actually taken over my life. Within the past few years, I've evolved into a workaholic. I've definitely prized productivity and kind of use it to measure my self-worth, which is, of course, that's so toxic. And I know this, I'm aware of this, but it's just so ingrained into my routine, so ingrained into my reflection of myself. It's really hard to unlearn how to just chill the heck out, you know? Like, people say that self-care is so important, and I totally agree. I support self-care, but also side note, I think self-care is a privilege. But for me, I can't chill. I can't watch a Netflix show without wanting to do something that is deemed productive, you know? Like, I can't just take the time for myself to release my thoughts and not have to think about work. And a lot of people are like that. I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, which brings me to my first point: internalized capitalism. I think society, especially in my experience, why we're obsessed with productivity and efficiency is due to internalized capitalism, right? With capitalism, we're always pressured to create a product that will sell, that will generate revenue for the individual or for the company. And with capitalism so ingrained in our society, with so much power and control over the world, essentially, it learns to get its way into us, to manifest itself into our actions. And a lot of times we're unaware of our internalized capitalism. Growing up, we are pushed to be successful. We're pushed to get those grades, to get into the college, to get a good degree, and to make that money. And through the process, we internalize the capitalism. But then it feels like it's too late, that you've already conditioned yourself enough to be in this routine where you need to measure your self-worth by what you're doing. And this is extremely toxic. Like, in my case, I can't even enjoy a vacation day just because of my mind wired to always be doing something that serves me, doing something that will give me back my benefits. For example, hobbies. Like, a lot of folks, they have nice, calming hobbies. For me, it's not like that. For me, I choose my hobbies carefully. I choose my hobbies so that perhaps down the line, they can be monetized. These hobbies can be turned into a skill that I can use to project my career. And although this does sound like, oh great, very overachieving person, it all boils down to my anxiety as well that has formed because of internalized capitalism. And I think internalized capitalism is definitely developed when we are young, when we're a child. Which brings me to my second point as to why we're obsessed with productivity is partly due to personal trauma. Trauma. What will we do without you? Well, first off, in case none of you don't already know this, I am a queer person, I'm Asian, and I am a quote-unquote woman that is also kind of fluid. Anyway, so those are 3 things I've been told that will make it harder for me to live in this world. That these things will be a disadvantage when trying to succeed, essentially. And being told this and being reminded of it countless times in media does not do wonders for your mental health. Like, oh, Abbie, the world is going to be so hard for you because X, Y, and Z. And so past me was like, heck that. I'm going to show the world how hard I am. So that pushed me onto a journey of being more ambitious, being more quote-unquote successful, even though I still don't know what success even means. And that's all because I was told that the world was going to be hard for me, that I needed to prove myself because I had these things going against me. And I'm also dissecting this from an Asian American perspective, specifically a child of immigrants. So when I came out to my family, it didn't go well. And there's one thing that really resonated with me, and it's still something that sticks to me to this day, was that they didn't come here to make my life harder. They came here for a better life, not a harder one, because apparently being gay is a harder one, which is true, but it's not really something sought after for Asian American immigrants. Or being Asian is already hard enough. Being gay and a woman just puts the icing on the cake. And other factors such as not studying nursing, but rather theater and media production also knocked off points for me. Granted, I do have a lot more support from my family, a lot more than before, and it's definitely changed over the years. But having this sentiment and having been told this a long time ago during my young formative years definitely shapes who we are later on in life. And I think that goes for a lot of Asian American immigrant families, is that they come from their country to start a new life, to start a new family, so that they can be successful. And by successful, I mean becoming a doctor, gaining enough money, having a family, children. Kind of the American dream, but with way more pressure. And so there's this guilt harboring up throughout the years, pushing us to be successful in other ways because we weren't a doctor, because we weren't straight. And so I find myself scrambling and making new projects and creating side hustles that will give me some money. And in the process, I'm losing a sense of myself. And actually, kind of just hit me as to why I'm doing all of this. Why am I always on the grind? And it's not for me. I don't think so. I think it's to compensate for my lack of success growing up, even though I was never unsuccessful to begin with. And I feel like this is a common problem with a lot of folks, with a lot of children of immigrants. And I think it also talks to recognition, to positive reinforcement. Like, it's a big thing in Asian cultures to not really show affection or show emotions. Like, I'm even seeing memes about that. Like, growing up in an Asian family, instead of saying sorry, you ask your child to come eat as a way to say sorry, but it's not an upfront apology. And I think that goes the same way for praise. Growing up, we don't really get praise for our efforts. We get praise out of our hard, cold grade, the product. We get the pat on the back after we've done the work, after we've sacrificed our health to get one measly letter. And most of the time, it's not even positive reinforcement. It's like your job. It's like, good, keep doing it. Not even good. It's just, okay, keep doing it. You know, like it's part of our duty to keep getting those grades, to keep working the job. I think it's a big thing in Asian cultures, and hence why there's a huge model minority myth in the US, which is also another toxic issue I'd like to talk about in later podcasts. But for now, let's talk about productivity. And so, due to the lack of positive reinforcement on our efforts, let alone in general, just makes our want, our need for affection even bigger, because we know it's so hard to get that. So we try in everything in our ability to get it, even if it means pushing past our own boundaries. So here poses my next question. Okay, we know that our obsession with productivity is toxic, but what can we do about it now? How do we unlearn the behaviors that we were so conditioned to hold on to? And the truth is, I don't know. There's a lot of resources out there to tell us ways we can take care of ourselves in a rise and grind culture, but it's harder than it looks. And I think it's something we have to ease into or force ourselves into taking those breaks. Like for me, I set alarms so I know to get up from my chair and to walk around and give myself some headspace. And so by slowly getting in the habit of practicing mindfulness, we can get in the habit of being more compassionate towards ourselves and practice self-care. Like, it's definitely a journey for sure. It's a process that's not going to happen overnight. Like for me, I've had to train myself a lot. And it's actually gotten so hard for me that I've had to rewire how I look at taking breaks. I've had to spin my perspective on it. So if I want to watch Netflix or if I want to take a breather to meditate, I have to look at it in a productive way. Still, like I'm still wired in a sense that I have to find every activity to be productive. Like for me to watch Netflix, I have to see it as a way to increase my knowledge of pop culture, which is productive. Or if I'm being mindful and practicing mindful eating, then that's a way for me to expand my brain to breathe for more productive activities. Which, yes, I know, it still feeds into the cycle of internalized capitalism by producing something. But if it's what's going to make me take those breaks and take that care for myself, I'll do it. I mean, it is a journey. It's a process. Like, loving yourself, for a lot of folks, it didn't happen overnight. To find that encouragement and confidence in yourself, you need to work on that. And same goes for taking breaks. Same goes for finding a healthy balance between productivity and actually enjoying life. And you just gotta remind yourself to take it step by step, to not be so hard on yourself, to take a moment, put that alarm on, to go outside and just be quiet, be still for a few minutes. And I think once we get into the habit of that, then we can find that equilibrium. And so I want to ask you, my listeners, what are your thoughts on that? What are some ways that you can find a way to ease out of your toxic relationship with productivity? Or what is your relationship with productivity to start with? Why is society so obsessed with it? Is it something we'll always be obsessed with? And these are questions I ask because I truly want to know your thoughts on that. Let me know what you really think in the comments, either on YouTube or on SoundCloud. If you liked this podcast, go ahead and like and subscribe. We are available on SoundCloud and on YouTube. In the process of trying to get on other platforms right now, but of course, we need support for that. So if you support, please share with your friends and family. Speaking of friends and family, I hope all of y'all are staying safe during these unprecedented times, but I hope that you find some comfort in thoughts on that. Stay safe in the meantime, and we'll see you next time.